Good evening, guys. Good evening, dear colleagues. So here we are again with the next interview, and today I have a special guest. This is gonna be Mr. Tyler Scharf, the teacher from Canada originally, who is currently based in Turkey, and we have a very interesting topic tonight because it is up to date, it is vital for all of us, and I hope, guys, that you will benefit from this. Tyler has a lot of experience and he has a lot to share with us. If you do not follow his account, please make sure to follow, because he's sharing absolutely interesting and encouraging ideas and insights and all of his thoughts. So basically tonight we're gonna talk about how to teach the person but not the subject. Right, so I'm waiting for Tyler to connect, and just will introduce him to you guys. So Tyler has around 10 years of experience teaching English, also preparing students for exams. He was doing teacher training for Oxford University Press. Hi, Tyler. He's qualified as Celta and ICELT. And what is interesting, he is an owner of online institute Sharp English, which you, of course, also very welcome to check. Tyler, I am adding you. Hello.
Hello.
Good evening. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Also very well, thank you. So Tyler, I was introducing you and our topic to the audience. So I will just continue that we're gonna talk about how teachers can make lessons meaningful to help their students grow and meet their goals and their potential and their needs. Also, we will discuss such interesting idea that we teachers are no longer just methodologists and teachers, we also become coaches. So what is the difference between teaching, coaching? We're gonna cover this, and actually we're gonna, of course, discuss what makes a good coach, who it is for a student, how you can become one, or maybe you are already a coach, right, Tyler?
Yeah, well, I'm on my way, actually. I'm just taking a course. We all kind of coach in a way already, right? But there's a difference between being a qualified coach and being a person who coaches as a hobby, which I'm learning very quickly. Yeah, so.
Right. So I will just also mention that, guys, Tyler is actually coaching teachers to find the path in the professional development and basically develop the confidence in yourself, in your teaching style, find your style, and all your needs in the teaching career. So this is the person who is your helping hand and who you can consult with. Also, Tyler is helping teachers with the CPE, CE exams, Celta and Delta, correct? And yeah, and also I need to mention that Tyler has students who are the owners or employees of the well-known corporations and companies worldwide, recognized and known, right? So Tyler, can you please add something about yourself, what I haven't mentioned, but what would be really interesting to our colleagues to hear?
Yeah. Well, you basically covered the things that I've been doing, but why I do things like this is probably more important. I think what I see, I like to say this, that English is not really something that is a subject that is kind of like, like history or something. You would say it's not really a topic that you would say is subject matter. English is more of a medium, right? And I see it as an enabling device for all of the people who either, you know, are already successful in their lives, or have success, want to achieve a higher level of success at one point, or, you know, see that as a avenue towards success, right? So people who take exams, they see it as an avenue towards maybe living in another country or studying abroad, or, you know, taking a master's degree in English, something like that. Then people who, yeah, like a director or an owner of a well-established company who may have success in his business life, wants to travel the world, and he wants to kind of interact on the social sphere. And you see it as a very useful tool that helps people to reach different aspects of their lives. And I think that this is why it's important to consider, you know, not just the grammar, vocabulary, or the skill of reading or writing or something like that, but what it is that actually gives value to that topic that they're learning. So the subject that they learn is very important, but then how are they gaining from it? What values are they creating as they do these specific things, right?
Absolutely. And actually we are coming to this first question, right? So how to not to teach the subject but the person, and how to make the lesson meaningful. So could you please share the main idea behind the, is it like lesson plan which you do differently than when you would teach a subject?
Well, okay, so if it's not so much about the lesson planning itself is one thing, but there has to also be a willingness to kind of throw your plans out if you had some specific thing or specific objective in mind. And I think that that's probably the first thing first in the classroom is, you know, if you have some specific plan, letting that plan exist separately from what the lesson is mapped out to be, right? So you can take that plan and use it, but then if for some reason it's just, you know, your students are showing you that they are not interested in it, or they have already learned it, it's too easy, it's too difficult or something, you can just throw it out the window and take something else up, right? So being flexible, I think, is the very, very, very first thing, where you can kind of adapt on the fly. You can take things and mold them to be more useful based on what you notice happening in the classroom there. So I think that this is the first thing. And then the second thing is knowing that what we are calling soft skills in the classroom are now being called 21st century skills. Like you see a lot of that in Oxford University Press books. Those personally are my favorite, particularly because of these 21st century skill development spots that help them to learn collaborative skills like teamwork, or you know, conflict resolution, or building relationships and things like that. So part of teaching the person rather than the subject is bringing in more of this. I don't know if you can't, they call them soft skills because you can't really measure them, right? So the concept of soft skills originally came from, you know, something that we can't put a score on as a 1 to 100 scale, something that people have or they don't have. And now they've kind of transitioned, because soft skills is a bit of a misnomer. It's kind of like looking at it from a not as valuable perspective. It's just like not worth as much kind of thing, right? Some people are calling them real skills, like Seth Godin. Some people are calling them 21st century skills, so skills of the future, right? Skills for our children. And that's what we should think about, is like English is our medium. So we are helping the students to learn the language, but as we're helping them to learn the language, we're teaching them to become 21st century people who will then, you know, go on to teach other people, or to open businesses that give other people jobs, or to make important scientific discoveries. So by kind of fostering their creativity and their hunger for knowledge, that's the most important aspect of it.
Absolutely. Tyler, could you please share if you have like individual classes with the students, or is it group classes?
Both.
Okay. And you know, because from my practice, students are coming and they say, I do not know grammar, please teach me, I do not understand this and this and this, and you kind of cannot avoid it because it is also important. You cannot build the language without grammar, right? So could you please share your personal advice how to find the balance between, as you say, developing more like understanding, creativity, collaboration, all of these soft skills, but still teaching the actual rules. So like in the class, how do you put it during 1 hour?
So, well, I mean, the very first thing is flipping the classroom around. So giving them something to do beforehand, right? Giving them some kind of task that sets a context, some nice video or some article or some relevant thing. You can find something quite simple if it's lower level, right? Just give them some kind of real world content to do before. The second thing is shut up as a teacher, right? Stop speaking so much and allow them to speak, because the traditional role of the teacher as the transmitter of knowledge is kind of the one-way street, and it's very embedded in a lot of cultures, a lot of universities, a lot of facilities, a lot of learning contexts have this concept of teacher as master and students as consumer of knowledge, right? So there's no push and pull, there's no give and take, there's no kind of discussion, there's no open ability to, negotiate, right? Mm-hmm. So negotiation skills are not just business. Negotiation skills are what's for dinner, do you want to learn this, do you find this interesting, how many people like to talk about sports, right? So part of that is, giving them some degree of choice in the topic. In a very typical lesson, you would give them something, so let's say a grammar lesson, you would give them something beforehand, then you can have them to discuss it for a moment in the start of the classroom, right? Their first impressions and the feelings that they got from it, something like that. Even pre-intermediate students can talk about how they felt about a movie, right? It would make me feel sad or something. And then as you transition into the grammar stage, you aim for something more student-centered, which is guided discovery, where instead of you as the teacher, okay, today we're going to learn present perfect, where everyone goes, oh my God, not this one again. You give them some tasks on paper or screenshots in the Zoom classroom, and you tell them to talk with each other, and you turn off your camera or you walk to the other corner, you still listen to them, and you intervene if they need help, but you let them kind of work through the process, work through the tasks. So it all comes down to letting go, basically. Letting go a little bit more. And, if you're riding a bicycle and you let go, you don't crash immediately, right? But if you're riding without your hands, you might have to put your hands back down on the handlebar to turn a little bit. And it's the same thing with your lesson, is you lift up your hands for a few moments just to let the students kind of keep the momentum, let them keep moving forward. And then when it comes time to turn, or if you feel like you're going to crash, then you put your hands back down and you take control of the ship or the bicycle, right?
Exactly. I remember this guided discoveries was the most interesting, actually, and really good activity, because the students get just involved, and then they really want to know why it is have and has and past participle, right? They don't want to be spoon-fed. They want to wish to know first, right? So you get their interest, you motivate them. It's very good technique. I also love it a lot. And for the soft skills, actually, last interview I had with Miss Uliana, and she shared that she is using project-based activities, so as you said, to activate creativity. And what about you? Do you go with the project, and what kind of them, if yes, or what are the other activities?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So any kind of project based on what is most interesting for them, any kind of task is useful. And the best way you can find out is to do a little survey, right? And ask your students what they would like to gain. But then, I mean, okay, so it depends on what your level is, right? Like projects they can range from like at the lowest level, going shopping, where everyone goes shopping with their mother and they send a picture of something that they just bought and they write about what it is or something like that, right? Like perhaps maybe like primary or elementary, to you know, at the highest level, you could do something where you assemble a team. A very simple version of a project, actually a light version of a project that I did in my speaking club last week, was we looked at different personality types and we decided on a team for an international school that we were making for an online institute. So we basically started our own business. We're all experts. They were all teachers, right? So we're all experts in the field. And, you know, we have awareness. The flipped aspect was they did the personality quiz. They read a little bit about the different types. And then when they went into the lesson, we went through the project of trying to decide who would be the best fit for which role, which position, who would be the marketing specialist, who would be the principal of the school, and things like that, right? So it's a pretty big spectrum, right? You can start from something as simple as just like going out of the classroom and doing something and then bringing it back to the classroom the next day. Or you can turn it into the whole decision-making process. And so that light version of my project was just, because it's a speaking club, it was just kind of a one-time thing. Mm-hmm. But if you wanted to extend that, you know, you could. So yeah, if you had like a company of intermediate level learners or something like that, you could do something very similar where you had them create a project in their context, like maybe a new solution for technology in order to manage logistics or something like that, right? We could say, and you don't even need to know what that technology is, right? But then you split them into a couple of teams where they go off and they plan this project. And then you have to give them constraints, right? You can't just say, go plan anything in the world, right? You have to say you have this much money, this many people, that much time. You need this result by that date, right? Or else it's not going to be, no one will do anything, right? They'll just say like, you know, we're going to buy a mansion on the moon or something. So you give them some specific constraints and then you bring them back and get them to kind of decide on whose is better and why and which one they're going to agree upon finally. So.
Cool. Tyler, I just love how easy you talk about it. Like, okay, such activity is just as simple as that, you know, because it's brilliant. The way how creative you are, your lesson is creative. You can pick up anything and just make it nice and interesting. And we have already a lot of comments. Thank you for this activity. Thank you for sharing, because, you know, we all get ideas from each other and it is priceless. Thank you so much indeed for sharing such idea. And actually, yes, we all start like teachers, yeah, and then there comes the moment when we understand that we are not only teachers but we are also psychologists, like probably the same moment we understand it, and then some moment comes when we understand that we are probably kind of coaching, yeah, and recently we understand it more and more. Was it there some specific moment when you realized that you are not a teacher but rather the coach, or you already felt like a coach from the very beginning?
Oh, no, I think it is a process, yeah. And I mean, it's the teacher psychologist thing is kind of a joke, but I mean, there's a lot of, you know, a lot of time that goes into becoming a psychologist. It's not so easy. And I know we like to joke about it, but we are there. The psychologist role that we play is the support, right? And we're not qualified to be giving actual consultations in the same way, but we do provide support in a way that people are expressing themselves through the medium of English, like we talked about earlier, that allows them to feel fulfilled or something like that. So, but the coach part of the teaching is when, for example, you have issues, a student who has issues with fluency or who's trying to get into, let's say they want to get into, I don't know, Harvard. They got a 7 on IELTS, but they need a 7.5. They take the test several times. They just keep getting 7 because their writing is 6.5. They need to bring it up half a point, right? It seems like it's an eternity. It seems like, well, it seems like it's just this, but it's actually an eternity of 0.5. And then you're kind of coaching them on mindset, right, for approaching the task. And I think that that's kind of where it became apparent. I wouldn't say that I started teaching. I'm like, yeah, I'm a coach, or you know, because as you get deeper into the different needs, as you understand students' needs more and more thoroughly, and you can get a better understanding of what it is that they're expecting, then you become more confident in your ability to cater to those needs and give them what they want. And then you start realizing that those needs are not just language based, but they're also related to confidence. And confidence comes from aligning values with actions, right? So when you allow them to see that the things that they're doing are helping them reach the types of things that they strive to be, the type of person that they strive to be, rather, not the thing, then that enables them to, be more confident and fulfilled that the language that they're doing, the language that they're using is what they should be doing. So what I'm coming back to here is that if you do want to do this type of thing, the most important thing as a teacher who is kind of getting into this role of coaching or providing support is keep it focused on solutions, right? That's just the number one rule of all of this, is that you have students coming in and complaining about, the IELTS test is extremely difficult. I don't know what to say. I'm trying to read the examiner's mind. I don't have the right answers. I can't speak fluently. My English is terrible. All of these kinds of things, these limiting beliefs, never ask them why, because it's not going to actually gain anything useful, right? That's something that a psychologist might delve into, right? And we don't really have the tools to kind of understand why there's these limiting beliefs. But instead, look at what it can become in a more positive way, right? So help them to reformulate it in a way that it could, okay, so if you were the person who could get the 7.5 on IELTS and you were speaking fluently and you had no hesitations, how would you imagine yourself to be, right? Help them to visualize that future, because it's been proven, actually. Visualization is a very, very effective technique. Pro sports players use it. Professional traders use it. Lots of high-performance coaches make their clients do it. Because when you visualize something, I mean, you can even try it every morning, wake up and just imagine yourself doing something that you're going to be doing this day. Then it actually helps you be more have more intention rather, while you're actually doing that thing. So you're more aware of what you're doing and your actions itself, right? So, give your student a moment to have a deep breath and take a moment to imagine herself as the person who she wants to be, right? And then help her to find the solutions in order to, I don't have enough language. Okay, great. Then there's a new reason to start looking at new vocabulary, for example, right? Then they see a purpose.
Absolutely. It's just brilliant. And at the beginning of the interview, you mentioned that you are now doing the coaching course yourself, that you are taking the course. Did I get it right?
Yeah.
Can you please share what it is and what are the insights that you had so far, if I may ask?
So yeah, I'm actually on the course to be a International Coach Federation associate, I can't remember the acronyms, associate accredited coach, but I think I'm gonna actually go for the full thing to be a professionally accredited coach, because when I first got into it, I just thought I'd give it a try, right? And it's quite an interesting program, because it's basically it's a mix of theory and practice, right? And a majority of our sessions are getting some kind of input on theory, but then doing it next, right? And then actually implementing it. So it's very much like teaching. And in fact, that's probably the first thing that I realized, my first major insight when I was taking this course, is that coaches are just good at eliciting things. So coaches know how to ask questions. However, teachers sometimes give advice, right? Like, don't use this, don't do that, right? And that's not really what a coach does. Because as a coach, you understand that the client has all of the resources that they need, right? As a teacher, you kind of have to give some of the resources, like the grammar structures, right? There's a bit more technical aspect to it, right? So there's a little bit more of a measurable aspect of, you know, you can test it, right? You can test your student much easier than you can test your client. Your client will know that they did well in a coaching session. They'll come back to you and be very proud of themselves because they did whatever it was, and they'll feel more fulfilled. But your student doesn't feel that fulfillment as easily, but you can give them a test and measure if what you did was correct, right? So there's kind of a divide there, in the sense of language is measurable more, not perfectly, right, as we know, whereas coaching is about their own vision of their success. So yeah, to answer this question earlier, no, I'm actually doing the course with Ericsson. Ericsson is a Canadian institute, but I was considering neurolanguage coaching with Rachel Paling as well. And what I ended up actually realizing as I was trying to make the decision of which course to take is that coaching is a skill that can be applied to language learning, either specifically, like she's doing, right, or as I just described, as a separate skill that can be integrated and implemented into the language learning process. So, because I firmly believe that teachers nowadays should not just be studying methodology. I mean, yes, you do need to take some courses in methodology. You should read a few books as well, and you should have at least some observations and feedback on that. But you should also be looking beyond into things that, you know, help you understand humans a little bit more, which is why I figured that coaching is the solution for helping me to understand what motivates people into achieving their goals and things like that. And there are many paths you can choose, right? Some people choose the more technical path of linguistics, right? That's perfectly valid. That's very useful, because then you can really know the ins and outs of the language. You can break it down. Business, some people go for business, right? And then they, you know, they become entrepreneurs as teachers, but then they also have the areas, the domain specialty that can help them with business English, but you don't need it technically. It just helps you. And then what else can you do that helps you as a teacher? I mean, there's many, many ways. There's many paths to development. You don't just have to stick to methodology, right? And I see coaching as the future of education because, well, just from what I've done with teachers, I had a session last week and I ran a few stories about this yesterday. And after the session, I asked the teacher about it. How was it? She was preparing for a big exam. And she said, you know, this is really amazing because I think teachers especially need this because we don't have very good clarity sometimes on what it is that helps us to move to that next stage. And we oftentimes get very vulnerable when we are looking and comparing ourselves with other disciplines or other types of people or other whatever, right? Especially, you know, Instagram with everyone, you know, doing their things and stuff. And she said that as a teacher, it really helps to recognize how, again, the vision of teaching, of helping other people learn things, is connected to the values of, contributing, and how that is being implemented through the specific actions, and how the test that she was taking was just in order to validate something that she knows she has. That's it, right? And it helps her to, regardless of whether it's a test or not, it helps her to recognize that that path of learning has developed her and enabled her to improve that knowledge so much already that the test itself didn't matter. It was the fact that everything that she had already done has already contributed to strengthening that value of helping other people to learn things, right?
I'm sure that after your speech, she felt much more delighted. Actually, my next question I wanted to ask, I would like to put it correctly, so the teachers who come to you for coaching from you, that you can give some advice, do they come with this problem that they do not feel confident, as you mentioned before, or any other?
Not always. Yeah, not always. Sometimes, but not always. I mean, okay, but who has a 10 out of 10 of confidence, right? I mean, if you do, then you need to kind of spend some time exploring your own beliefs, and you will find that there is something. It's interesting because there's just as a kind of side note, there's a lot of talk about fears, right? And then there's a lot of misunderstanding because a lot of people say, I don't have any fears. But fear doesn't necessarily mean being afraid, but it means having a doubt that something may not turn out the way that you expect it to turn out. So confidence in teaching it's not so much about, do I need it or do I have it? It's about how can I amplify it, right? So, because sometimes we see confidence as like, something related to the ego and like the self-identity. And in a sense, yes, but it's also about expanding the confidence so that you know that what you're doing is what they need, right? And I can't remember who did this study, but there was a very interesting study where they showed clips of, I think it was politicians, but they also did it with professors. They showed short clips with no sound, just the person in the classroom or the politician up there talking, and they could predict with very reasonable accuracy, like scarily accurate, how good these people were, and who would be more successful as a politician, or who would be more successful or highly rated by their students as a professor. So the professors who got higher scores from their students in the actual classroom also got higher ratings from the people who just watched like a short clip of like 5 seconds of this person with no sound just in there, because a part of it is confidence, right? So the professors who were more confident were able to show this, but then also a part of it was the belief that what they were doing was making a difference, right? So they could see that the value of, helping people to improve their English, for example, was being realized through the actions of what they were teaching and doing in that classroom. So, I mean, I know some teachers who have been, they've done a lot of courses, they've read tons of books, they've got like Celta and, TKT and CAE and blah, 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 right? They got all these fancy certificates, but then they still have these feelings that they're not doing the things the right way. And it's really, it comes down to the fact that recognizing how these actions are fitting into those values of what you are as a teacher. And that's kind of what the coaching session is. I can't really explain that to you because that's you yourself, right? I mean, if I explained it about this person, that would be maybe similar to you, but not exactly you, because everything is slightly different, right?
Yes.
And yeah, just recognizing how they fit together. So long story short, yeah, some people come because they want to see more results. Other people come because they don't know exactly what they're doing and they just want help to gain clarity, right? Maybe the next step. They don't know what to do next in their career. They just like a bit more clarity. And other people come just because they, you know, they see it as an opportunity for development, not exactly, they may not have a strict path for development, but they have some kind of form of development in their mind that they want to achieve.
Oh, thank you, Tyler. You know, I love the way how you put it that in the future there will be more coaches than teachers, because for a long time it's not like teacher has been the only source of knowledge, right? So our students really can get the knowledge from everywhere. There is a lot of free sources, a lot of books, a lot of courses, all of the platforms. So the teacher becomes the facilitator indeed. And you know, I'm listening also to what you're saying about the coaching and all of the fancy certificates and stuff. And I have a question in my mind. So actually, I have also around 10 years of experience of teaching English. I did my Celta. And can you please share your feeling? If I want to continue, right? So what should I take next one? Would it be Delta? Or should I take the same, let's say, course of coaching as you are taking and teach myself and learn how to become an English coach, excel in it? Is it two different, absolutely different things, or they can go together, and then in which order, if yes?
That's an interesting question. So, okay. Are they two different things? Yes, very different. Because Delta is a master's level certificate in methodology, right? And coaching is an entirely different thing altogether. It's basically, it can be related to people learning languages. It can be related to relationship counseling. It can be related to entrepreneurship. It can be related to anything, right? So, yeah, but what it comes down to is, what do you want to do in your career?
Next, right?
No, not next, but what do you see yourself? So, okay, imagine just imagine yourself, if you could see yourself at the peak of your career, and you are, let's say, having a little celebration with some people who have been with you along the journey. Let's say it's like, I don't know, 10, 15 years later, and you're sitting there and, you know, you're having a good time together, and one of your close friends who has been with you for this entire time stands up and says, I'm very glad that I have been here with Olga this whole time, and I have really gained a lot from her. And Olga is the kind of person who?
I know. The person who inspires, the person who motivates, the person who cheers up, the person who helps, not in always like direct way, but just in a way of being there as an example or existing.
Okay. Yeah. And what are some ways that you can, you know, motivate people, inspire people, and help more in your practice?
Be an example, set up an example, show with my actions that if I want to do something, I can achieve it. That there is no stop point in development, that we can always learn from each other and like never stop learning at all. And like always want more, but enjoy what you have. Not just like go, I want more. Be thankful for what you have and eager to know more, but in an enjoyable way.
Okay, so you're eager to learn more and help your students, to inspire them, motivate them. Now, what do you think could help them to gain the tools to help you? What can give you the skill? Yeah, what kind of, sorry, I was just kind of doing this on the fly. What kind of skills would help you to become that person who is able to motivate your students and inspire them and always learn more?
Skills.
Mm-hmm.
Well, probably creativity for sure.
Being able to do.
And the critical thinking, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, just a word aside, there was the article I read, and they said that people who have developed soft skills in just the nearest future will be billionaires and millionaires, even in the companies, in the corporations. It's not about English, you know, it's just that there will be technical people who need to have technical knowledge, being engineers,
yeah,
and so on. But those people who will have soft skills together with all the other knowledge will be just rock stars, you know. So yeah, it's all about negotiation, communication, everything what matters, what is on the light spot right now.
Yeah, so
no, but that's very good example. You know, I'm thankful to you so much because you actually show this is the small coaching session, and we already have the comments. I love the way how you build it. Oh my god.
Yeah, I just kind of gave you a little snippet of a couple things, but that's kind of what helps you to gain clarity. And you can sit there and, I mean, you could do it yourself, right? If you journaled, actually. So journaling is another effective solution, but a lot of people, I mean, I've tried to pick up a journaling habit many times, and then I just kind of, I don't know, it kind of disappears after some time. But it helps you to reflect those values, right? You can kind of see where you perceive yourself as. And then the interesting thing about the coach is it's kind of live and it's, well, it heats up, right? If it gets going in the right way, if you can really pinpoint what it is that is valuable, then and if the person is really actually, you know, they have a real purpose for it. They're not just doing it because they're curious, or they're just kind of like, you know, my boss told me I need coaching, so I'm here just to, right? But if you know, if you are willing to kind of explore those values, then in the coaching session, it really heats up and it really accelerates because you start seeing a little bit deeper what it is that actually enables you to unlock that door, right? And to step forward. So, I mean, just those 3 questions that I asked you, that was kind of like a fast forward, right? But it is some kind of like, it's kind of like a scaling exercise where you kind of go up and down and then you recognize what it is that you would want to do. I mean, I'm pretty sure that I don't want to tell you which one to choose because I want you to make the choice yourself, but
Absolutely.
I'm pretty sure you would be able to figure it out relatively easily.
Sure, thank you. I'm just looking at our agenda. Have we covered all of the like effective coach and students' needs? Did we cover this question? Would you like to add something more?
That's all I've got on my mind right now. Yeah, I've got a particular question.
Right. And because I mentioned at the beginning of the interview that, dear colleagues, please visit Tyler's website because there are courses for teachers. Could you just give us the little bit brief details for the courses which you provide for the teachers?
Oh, yeah. So right now, what I've been doing a lot of is CPE, actually, because well, CPE is very interesting. Lots of very like abstract topics and really like, you know, good food for thought, good brain juice, get you thinking. Plus, it's very motivating to see such diligent students. So CPE, what I do with CPE is I've got a course. It's spread out over 6 months, and it's in a group of 4. It's a small group of 4, so that you have a community. Basically, it's forming small communities of learners, so that you can teach each other is kind of the goal there. And you know, one of the participants in my course actually a few weeks ago mentioned during the session to me that she's much more motivated at work now because she's part of this group of people who are moving towards a structured improvement of their language, right? So that was something that was really kind of surprising for me. I mean, I didn't plan to motivate people beyond their course itself, but for some people it helps them to see you know, a good purpose for the language that they are teaching as well. And then they also gain things that they can use in the classroom. So that's, yeah, CPE. I also do that with CAE. And then I'm doing a speaking club. Speaking clubs are mostly C1, C2 level. I've got a B2 level as well. And these ones are basically, they're aimed at higher level discussion topics that are aimed to get you, you know, debating and discussing issues. And they are more focused on the communication skills, right? So we like to say speaking, not talking, right? Talking is just like free practice activities, blah, 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 right? Speaking, there's some kind of like need to communicate. There's some kind of outcome. There's some kind of constraint that makes them do something specific. So then I've also got a course on student-centered methodology, which is about, you know, tricking your students into learning, basically getting them to do guided discovery exercises and become more active learners in the classroom, and so that you spend less time speaking, right? It's more about giving yourself the tools to design activities so that learners are more involved. And then I've got making online lessons engaging, which is about teaching online. It gives you all of the tools to design lessons, how to use Zoom, like some tricks with Zoom, Google Documents, Google Folders, Google Files, Google Drive, sorry, Google Classroom, and how not just to, you know, so it goes from basically from the tools into the actual lesson, and like what makes an online lesson engaging, some ways that you can adapt offline activities to get learners moving around and doing more kinesthetic things, and then into some advanced techniques with the platforms and how you can plan things so that you don't have to think, you just have it all at your fingertips. And then into student-centered learning as well. There's an aspect of how student-centered translates into the online environment there. So yeah, those are the main things that I'm doing right now.
Cool. Thank you so much for the brief look at your courses. And guys, please make sure to visit Tyler's website and to get more familiar in case you need it. Thank you, Tyler. All right, and I mean, it ran so fast. I'm so thankful to you for this session, because for me it was very insightful and helpful indeed, and I hope you enjoyed it the same as myself. And we have a lot of thankful comments from our colleagues. So Tyler, then the last thing, if I may ask, I usually ask my guest, can you please wish something to the colleagues at this time, some kind of just good word to everyone?
Well, I wish all of you the most inspirational and insightful journey in your path to learning and helping yourself to understand that you can continue to improve yourself and reach new heights in your own development. Very well said.
Thank you. And from my side, I wish you a lot of inspiration, of course, thankful students, as you already have, I'm sure. But yeah, all of the success in your personal development, all of the wishes, all of your dreams, your goals, nearer or farther to become true, to realize them, and just good luck with everything. How is it now in Turkey? How is the weather? Is it warm?
Oh, it's starting to cool off. Yeah, it's not winter, but it's getting to be, yeah, like 5 degrees or so. So
okay, yeah. So we have around 0 right now. So I wish you to enjoy also the last probably warm days and just
I hope it snows. I miss snow.
Oh. I'll send you the picture if it snows here.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you so much, guys, for being with us, for all your warm words and comments, and keep in touch.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me, and thanks to everyone who came. See you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.